Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today we'll be discussing a rather interesting mod. You see, a few days ago we talked about the vampires needing a rework and also how Heinrich the Lichemaster used to have his own personal army in the form of a Warhammer Fantasy supplement. Well, the return of the Lichemaster by Vandy and Cataph seems to do just that, where your armies with the Barrow Legion are now completely changed, more to fit this Warhammer Fantasy supplement of ages past. This mod radically changes the Barrow Legion. You are no longer playing a vampire count faction, instead you're playing a faction run by necromancers. Everything is totally changed with this mod. You have new units, new mechanics, new everything, including a bunch of famously known old school characters from the Warhammer Fantasy Battles universe. So let's not waste any more time and jump right in. As always, in an effort to show off these mods in a fast and efficient way, we'll be starting off a new campaign in easy mode and easy battles. As soon as you start off your campaign, you'll be thrown into a battle directly, without ever seeing the campaign map until after the battle. This is more or less to get you used to the new style of army that you'll be using and some new form of mechanics. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a mod do this before, and it's quite a nice way to introduce you to a new faction. It can be rather difficult in higher difficulties, considering that your enemy here are dwarves, but if you can hold long enough after the first wave of dwarven reinforcements, some aid will come your way in the form of some powerful units, once again for you to get used to how they work. I can't stress enough on how great this introduction is, and hopefully we'll see it implemented to other mods in the future. You will already start to notice changes as soon as you enter the campaign map, where you'll notice on your upper UI a bunch of new mechanics revolving around necromancy. Necromantic power, which is one of your main resources. Without it, you can't even settle with your faction as a whole. There's also something called stored lives, which from what I can imagine seems to be a life system that you have in this game. Once you die enough times with Heinrich, your campaign is over. There are multiple ways on getting more lives, so don't worry about that. And lastly, there are not one, not two, but three new legendary lords alongside Heinrich. You can see them on the screen as I pass over them, but we'll have a proper in-depth look of each of these characters in just a few minutes. We'll also be treated to the regular how they play pop-up, which explains how the Barrow Legion will work with this mod. And this goes as follows. Your armies are numerically limited hordes, each led by an immortal legendary lord. Barrow units are fully replaced by desecrating ruins, risen units replenish normally, and at an increased rate in friendly territory. Interact with ruined settlements for regiments of renown, heroes, items or other effects, or nasty surprises. Accrue necromantic power to unlock faction-wide positive effects for your armies, zombie dragons, gradual occupation of settlements, limited access to vampire count roster and settlement buildings, and even reserve lives for Kemler to prevent total defeat. An exceedingly low necromantic power will cause penalties instead. Acquire necromantic power by winning battles or acquiring horde buildings and character skills that contribute to it. Each secondary lord and hero losing battles and other effects will conversely drain necromantic power. Act carefully or live on the edge. Or don't, I'm just a sign, not a life. I quite like that little humorous take there, and it's nice to have the how to play section have so much detail that you basically don't need that much else. Replacing our technology tree, as yes there is no technology for this mod, which is rather interesting, is a Legendary Lords tab. This introduces you to the other possible Legendary Lords that you may acquire during your campaign, and gives them a little bit of fluff and some details. Nothing too out there, but enough to give you incentive to try and recruit them. Speaking of Legendary Lords, let's look at the Lichemaster himself. Seeing as he no longer has to summon Krell by the way, as Krell will automatically summon in as soon as he enters a battle, his skills have been radically changed to fit not only the loss of Krell, but also new armies and new mechanics. It's absolutely phenomenal. We're only brushing over this lightly, as I'd like to give the player themselves the chance to look through it in their own time. You will notice new icons appearing next to settlements. Defile barrows comes in two forms. Its colored state, which means that you can defile them, and its grey state, which means that they've already been defiled, so you'll get nothing from them. There's also that very interesting one that says low necromantic power. Basically, this means that you can only settle in this settlement when you have a higher amount of power. Yeah, you won't be settling across the whole world or painting the map. Instead, you will have a certain amount of regions that you can actually settle in. What I've done in this clip is just defile this barrow. There's nothing more that I could do at the moment as I have no necromantic power. As stated in the How They Play section, defiling various barrows can have a lot of benefits, such as a large increase of income and also some special items. I do advise doing this as much as possible. Your legendary lords are indeed hordes, and they have a variety of new and unique buildings dedicated to them. No other faction in Total War Warhammer has these style of buildings, as it's only for the Barrow Legion, and what makes it rather interesting is that each of your unique legendary lords also has unique horde buildings only available to them. Hordes might not be great at the moment in the Total War Warhammer series, however, since you can also occupy buildings, you're perfectly fine. After gaining a certain amount of necromantic power, you'll notice that certain areas that you can indeed settle in have now had their icon changed to green, after which you may settle them freely as you wish, but bear in mind that obviously this is dependent on your current power standing, so should your power get reduced, you will no longer be able to settle it. The areas that you end up controlling are very much like stripped down vampire count holdings. You won't have access to the complete vampire count roster, and in truth you don't really need it anyway, as your roster is powerful enough as it is. Even so, it is quite nice to have some old school classic units to be able to use during your campaign, especially for players who prefer more of the vanilla approach. You can also end up recruiting some bog standard necromancers. I'm not sure if this is intended or not, as there's no direct page that tells you their benefits and so on, so if this is a bug, you might as well take advantage of it before it gets patched. There might be a slight issue when trying to recruit one of your new legendary lords after you've unlocked one. Simply go onto the normal recruitment tab and click legendary lords. That should fix everything for you. Speaking of which, now we have the High King, one of the 3 legendary lords that we can recruit through this mod. Generally, decent stats, nothing too spectacular itself, but it's there to do damage. It's more of a legendary lord focused around a few buffs here and there, but he's nothing too powerful. Overall, decently balanced. The same could be said in regards to the High Priestess. It's actually rather interesting. Her stats themselves, well, in all honesty, well, they're rather lackluster. However, she does have access to an amazing amount of spells and different buffs. This is a spellcaster slash buffer lord who is fairly decent, but the moment she gets locked into close combat, yeah, she's gonna die. You've gotta keep her safe. She will get ripped apart by even basic clan rats. And lastly, a rather infamous name in the Warhammer Fantasy universe, Constant Dragonfels, also known as the Nameless. Interestingly enough, a rather weak legendary lord character considering who this is. He has some rather interesting buffs in regards to ethereal units and so on, but still, this is the Nameless, and he seems to be, well, rather lackluster compared to the other legendary lords. It's more than likely the modders are going by his incarnation in the Warhammer Fantasy End Times, where the Nameless himself was rather weak. But even then, I always imagined the Nameless to be a tad stronger. But with that, we're going to look over the army in general and how they look visually whilst I give my final thoughts on the mod. I'm not going to go over the stats and so on, as in truth there are so many new units that this video indeed would probably be way too long. But that being said, visually, all the unique looking units are rather interesting. Old school Warhammer Fantasy fans will obviously see the inspiration that was added from the Lichemaster's own personal armies, which in my opinion is absolutely fantastic. I myself am a big fan of this old Hammer spin of things, and seeing this brought to life in a mod is great, honestly. The Lichemaster's army on the tabletop itself wasn't built around new models, instead it was mostly built around kit bashers, where you would get pieces of different models from the already available range and create your own. The modders did a fantastic job bringing this to life, and I honestly hope that we start seeing more of these types of mods. The mod plays extremely well, and everything seems to work as intended, barring the Necromancer thing. I'm not sure if that's actually intended for the mod, but having a few extra armies did indeed help. As with all the mods I look over, it will be linked in the description below. If you're a fan of the vampire counts, but want a new and unique way on how to play as them, more focused around Necromancers over vampires, indeed with no vampires whatsoever, I'd suggest you check this out. I honestly found it extremely enjoyable. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel has been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.